All right, welcome in everyone, diving right in as always. Today's deep dive is all about um, Cerule wellness supplements. We're working from your notes, of course, and this in-depth analysis that you pointed us to. I'm really interested to get into this because I feel like stem cells and telomeres, they're sort of like the holy grail of, the anti-aging world, but there's a lot of hype out there. So I'm curious, what does the science actually say about Cerule's claims?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You want the knowledge, you want it fast, and you want it to be thorough. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look specifically at three of Cerule's products, Stem Enhance Ultra, you've also got Sciactive, and then finally Plasma Flow. And the big question we want to answer is, are these actually, are they worth it? Are they really as effective as they claim to be? Or is it just a bunch of marketing hype? We're going to unpack it all.
Okay, perfect. So before we get too deep into the specifics of Cerule and their products, maybe we can level set a little bit on some of the basic concepts. I think most of our listeners probably have a general idea, but let's start with telomeres. What are they and why should we care about them?
All right, so picture the little plastic tips at the end of your shoelaces, right? Those are your telomeres, but for your chromosomes. They protect those ends from fraying, from damage. Every time a cell divides, those telomeres get just a teeny bit shorter.
Oh, okay, I see. So they're kind of like a buffer zone, right? They protect the important genetic information in our chromosomes.
Yeah. Exactly. And that shortening, well, it has consequences. If they get too short, the cell, it can't divide anymore. It's think of it like a shoelace again. You lose too much of that plastic tip, it starts to fray. It just doesn't work as well.
Sure.
Same with a cell, right? It can't divide, might even self-destruct. And this is a big part of aging. And think about this chronic stress, cellular damage. They actually accelerate that shortening process.
Yeah.
But good news, right? Healthy habits can slow it down. Longer telomeres, healthier cells. That's the bottom line.
So it's kind of like a biological clock in a way. And it's not just set in stone, we can influence it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. And now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about adult stem cells. What are they and why are they so important?
Adult stem cells, these are they're like your body's repair crew, right? They rush in whenever there's damage. They're ready to fix things up. They're super versatile. They can become different types of cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, you name it. And they can make more of themselves, which is, pretty handy for repairs. The main hub for these stem cells is in your bone marrow. It's constantly releasing them into your bloodstream.
So they're always on call, ready to go.
Always on call, 204/7. And scientists, they track these stem cells using a marker called CD34 plus SAM.
CD34 plus SAM.
Yeah. These circulating stem cells are super important for healing, for renewing tissues, keeping your body in tip-top shape. And this is where it gets really interesting. The number of stem cells your bone marrow releases, it goes down as you get older.
So it's like the repair crew gets a little smaller as we age.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part of why older people might heal slower or have more trouble recovering. So supporting these stem cells, it's not just about bouncing back from a tough workout. It's about helping your body stay resilient over time.
So what I'm hearing is that essentially the hypothesis behind Cerule's approach is that if you can if you can boost the health of our telomeres and also increase the amount of stem cells that we have available, maybe we can kind of supercharge the body's repair mechanism.
Absolutely. That's exactly the idea. Keep the immune system strong, maintain that youthful vitality as we age, kind of like giving your body the best chance to thrive.
That's pretty fascinating. So how does Cerule actually try to do this? Let's start with the first product, Stem Enhance Ultra, or SEU.
Right. Stem Enhance Ultra, or SEU, they call it the ultimate stem cell support. They combine three key ingredients: an extract from AFA algae, that's their branded Stem Enhance. Then you've got mesenchyme from spirulina. And lastly, fucoidan, which comes from brown seaweed. The claim here is that SEU boosts the number of adult stem cells circulating in your body. It's like it encourages them to leave the bone marrow and get to work.
Interesting. So how does it supposedly work? How does it actually get those stem cells moving?
Well, let's break it down. The AFA algae, it contains a molecule that can block something called L-selectin. Now, L-selectin, think of it like an anchor for stem cells in your bone marrow. It keeps them in place. And the AFA, it cuts those anchors temporarily, so the stem cells can float freely into the bloodstream.
Ah, okay. So it's like freeing up the repair crew to move around more easily.
Exactly. Then you've got mesenchyme, which it's believed to ramp up the production of something called GCSF.
GCSF.
GCSF. It's a signal. Tells the bone marrow, hey, release more stem cells. It's actually used in medical treatments to do just that.
Oh, wow.
And then there's fucoidan. This one might help the stem cells once they're out and about, help them get where they need to go, even protect their telomeres. At least that's what we see in lab studies.
So each ingredient kind of plays a different role. It's a team effort.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is there's actually some human trial data. One study showed a 25% increase in CD34 plus stem cells. Remember those?
Yeah, yeah.
An hour after taking the AFA extract.
That's pretty impressive.
It is, but it's also important to note it's a temporary effect.
Yeah.
And there's another study. This one was in animals, and it looked at cancer growth. They found that stem enhance didn't seem to, make things worse, which is reassuring. Plus, Cerule, they have a patent on using AFA to get those stem cells moving. That's U.S. patent 6,814,961. And another one, U.S. patent 9,370,537 for their special Hydra-Dry technology. They use that to process the algae.
Wow, that's a lot of research and patents. Okay, so that's Stem Enhance Ultra. Now, what about Cyactiv? What is that all about?
Cyactiv, this one's all about balance and calm whole body inflammation. The main ingredient, it's a special extract from spirulina.
Spirulina.
They standardize it to have over 30% phycocyanin. That's the key player here.
Phycocyanin. Okay, and why is inflammation so important in the context of stem cells and just overall health?
Great question. Now, inflammation is not always a bad thing. When you get injured, right? You get that swelling, that's acute inflammation. It's your body's natural response. It's trying to heal. But when inflammation is chronic, when it's low grade and it just lingers, that's when it becomes a problem.
Okay.
It can actually mess with the body's ability to repair itself. It's like having roadblocks up, preventing those stem cells from getting where they need to go. And on top of that, chronic inflammation, it creates oxidative stress, and that can actually speed up the shortening of those telomeres we talked about. So keeping inflammation under control, it's really key for stem cell function and for cellular health in general.
It's like creating a good environment for those stem cells to do their job.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does Cyactiv help with that?
Right, so phycocyanin, this is the main active compound in Cyactiv, and it's a powerful antioxidant, and it's also got amazing anti-inflammatory properties. It works by basically calming down those pathways in the body that drive inflammation. There's actually quite a bit of clinical research on this. Dr. Gitte Jensen, she's done some great work showing that spirulina extracts can help reduce chronic inflammation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. There was one study from 2016 that showed it reduced several inflammation markers without causing any bleeding issues.
Right.
Which is important, right? We want to make sure it's safe. And then another study in 2017 suggested that it could actually help boost the immune system's ability to detect and respond to threats, especially in older adults.
Wow, that's pretty significant. So if I'm understanding correctly, Cyactiv is kind of like creating a more welcoming environment for those stem cells that Stem Enhance Ultra is releasing.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's like paving the way for those repair crews to get to where they're needed most. And of course, Cerule, they've got patents related to Cyactiv as well. One is U.S. patent 9,131,724. That covers how they isolate that phycocyanin and remove any potential toxins. And you guessed it, U.S. patent 9,370,537 pops up again. This one covers the anti-inflammatory components they extract from blue-green algae.
Okay, all right, lots of patents. So we've covered Stem Enhance Ultra, we've talked about Cyactiv. Now let's get to the third product in their trio, Plasma Flow. What's the focus here?
All right, so Plasma Flow. This is all about support optimum blood flow and capillary health. It's a blend of several ingredients. Fibrinolytic enzymes, they come from Aspergillus oryzae. You've also got Gotu kola, sea buckthorn, ginkgo, and then extracts from olive and cocoa. The goal here is to improve microcirculation. That's the blood flow through the smallest blood vessels in your body, the capillary.
Okay, so it's getting really, really specific.
Yeah, exactly. Microcirculation, it's essential for delivering oxygen and nutrients to every cell. And it's also how those stem cells get around, They need to reach every part of the body. But as we age, microcirculation can become less efficient. Plasma Flow aims to help with that. It breaks down fibrin. It's a protein that can build up and restrict blood flow, and it provides antioxidants to protect those tiny blood vessels.
So it's kind of like clearing the pathways, making sure the roads are nice and open for those stem cells to travel.
Exactly. And there is some evidence to back up those benefits. Fibrinolytic enzymes, they're known for breaking down fibrin and improving blood flow. Scottucola has been used traditionally for its circulatory benefits for ages. And there's even a small study was done in people with type 2 diabetes, where they used a supplement that combined a stem cell mobilizer with an enzyme. They saw some improvements in metabolic markers. The idea is that Stem Enhance Ultra gets those stem cells out into the bloodstream, and then plasma flow makes sure they can reach their destination.
So Cerule is really emphasizing this synergistic approach, right? They want you to use all three products together.
That's right. It's like they're addressing different bottlenecks in the body's repair system. Stem Enhance Ultra provides those stem cells, those raw materials for repair. Cyactiv creates the right environment by reducing inflammation, and plasma flow ensures efficient delivery through the microcirculation. They call it an internal tune-up.
Like a well-coordinated team.
Yeah, a team working together for optimal health.
Now, in the analysis that you shared, Professor Bart Kay's name comes up. For those who aren't familiar with him, who is he and what's his perspective on all of this?
Professor Bart Kay, he's got a background in physiology. He's become a kind of a prominent voice online in the nutrition and biohacking world. But it's important to know he's also a distributor for Cerule, so keep that in mind. He has a bunch of YouTube videos where he breaks down the science behind telomeres and stem cells in a really easy to understand way. And he often talks about the potential benefits of using the Cerule's products.
Okay, so what are some of the key points that he makes in his videos? What does he emphasize?
Well, he's really good at explaining those complex scientific ideas in a way that, anyone can grasp. He really stresses how important lifestyle choices are for the health of our telomeres and stem cells. He ties Cerule's products to addressing those negative factors, like inflammation and oxidative stress, which, as we've discussed, can really damage those telomeres. He talks a lot about the synergy between the three Cerule products, and he often brings up scientific studies that support the way each ingredient is supposed to work.
Right. He also shares a pretty interesting personal story, right?
Yeah, he does. He talks about being diagnosed with advanced macular degeneration. He was told he was going to lose his vision, but then he started taking Cerule's supplements. And he says not only did his vision not get worse, it actually got better. He even had to change his eyeglass prescription.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful anecdote.
It is. But, it's just one person's experience.
Mhm.
And, he does have a connection to Cerule. So while it's interesting, we should always be cautious about drawing big conclusions from just one story.
For sure. So how do Cerule's supplements compare to other supplements out there that claim to boost the immune system or support stem cell activity? There are a lot of products on the market. How do these stand out?
It's a good question. The analysis suggests that Cerule's algae-based supplements, especially with that mesenchyme, they seem to be a step up from some of the older AFA extracts. There were companies like StemTech that were selling those. Cerule's patented extraction methods, those set them apart too. Now, if you compare them to supplements that target telomeres directly, like TA65, those work a little differently. TA65, it tries to activate telomerase, the enzyme that actually lengthens telomeres. Cerule's approach is more about reducing the factors that shorten telomeres and supporting that cellular renewal through stem cell mobilization.
What about those general immune support supplements that are everywhere? How do they compare?
A lot of those, they focus on broad antioxidant effects or just boosting immune function in general. They're not specifically targeting stem cell mobilization or tissue repair in the same way that Cerule does. And Cerule, they actually do studies where they measure those CD34 plus stem cells. That's not something you see with most general immune supplements. But, it's worth noting, there are some scientists like Dr. Paul Neufler who are a little skeptical about the long-term benefits of stem cell supplements in general. That includes the ones from Cerule. And, cost is a factor too. Cerule's products, they're not cheap. They're definitely pricier than your average multivitamin or general health supplement.
Okay, so there are some pros and cons to consider. Now let's break down the specific health claims that Cerule makes. Based on all the research we've looked at, how credible are they?
Let's go through them one by one. The claim that Stem Enhance Ultra increases circulating stem cells, that seems credible in the short term, at least based on the research on AFA and Fucoid. But whether that increase lasts over time, that's less clear. The claim that it supports the body's natural self-healing ability, that's, some credible, it's backed by some animal studies, and it makes sense logically. Stem cells, they're involved in tissue repair, but it's a very broad claim, hard to measure in real life. The claim about telomere support, that one's probably the weakest in terms of direct scientific proof. The connection there is more indirect, based on the antioxidant effects and the general support for cell health.
Okay, so some claims are stronger than others. What about the claims related to inflammation and immune function?
The claim that Cyactiv reduces systemic inflammation, that one's pretty credible. Lots of studies on spirulina and phycocyanin support that. The claim about supporting healthy immune function, that's somewhat credible, based on what we've seen with stem cell mobilization and the antioxidants. But more long-term studies in humans would be helpful to really confirm that. And then the claim that plasma flow improves blood circulation, that seems credible too, given what we know about how those ingredients work, especially those fibrinolytic enzymes and the compounds that support blood vessel health.
Got it. And safety-wise, anything to be concerned about?
From what we've seen, the safety profile looks pretty good. No major side effects reported in the studies.
That's good to hear. So, taking all of this into consideration, who do you think would benefit the most from using these supplements?
Well, the analysis you gave me actually breaks it down by different life stages and lifestyles, which I thought was pretty helpful. Young adults, especially those who are super active athletes, or people under a lot of stress, they might benefit from the enhanced recovery support and immune system boost. Middle-aged folks might consider them as a preventative measure, help counter that natural decline in stem cell activity and, the gradual increase in inflammation that happens with age. And of course, it could help with cardiovascular health too.
Makes sense.
And then for seniors who tend to experience the biggest declines in these areas, they might see improvements in regeneration, joint comfort, circulation, energy levels. It could make a real difference.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Athletes, very active individuals, they could recover faster, reduce inflammation from exercise, enhance tissue repair, and maybe even get better oxygen delivery. People with chronic inflammation might find them helpful as an addition to their regular treatments. Those with high-stress lifestyles, they might benefit from the support for resilience and the way it could help counter the negative effects of stress on the immune system and regeneration. And of course, anyone who's into biohacking or anti-aging, they might be drawn to the targeted approach to stem cells and telomeres.
Okay, so there are potentially a lot of different applications. So, big picture time, final verdict. After this deep dive, do you think Cerule supplements are genuinely effective, or is it more hype than substance?
Based on everything we've looked at, I'd say they are effective, but within the specific mechanisms they're targeting. Stem Enhance Ultra, it seems to increase those circulating stem cells in the short term. Cyactiv, it's been shown to reduce inflammation. And Plasma Flow, those ingredients are known to support better circulation. And there's good science behind all of this. Credible research on the ingredients, the formulas, they've got the patents to back it up. But, and this is important, it's crucial to have realistic expectations. The long-term anti-aging claims, those need more robust evidence, large-scale human trials, that kind of thing. And the cost is a factor, no doubt about it. And we can't forget about lifestyle, diet, exercise. Those are still the foundation of good health.
Right, right. The supplements are kind of like an extra layer of support.
Exactly. And, those anecdotal stories, the amazing transformations people talk about, those are compelling, but take them with a grain of salt. In the end, I'd say these are high-quality supplements, they're backed by science, and they could probably offer some real, but likely subtle benefits for healthy aging and recovery. But use them as part of a broader health strategy. Don't expect miracles.
That's a really good point. Okay, so we've come to the end of our deep dive into cellular wellness supplements. Thanks to the detailed analysis you shared with us, we've been able to really unpack the science and the claims behind these products. I think it's safe to say that understanding supplements like these requires a careful look at the research, and understanding those underlying mechanisms is so important.
Absolutely. And it brings up a question I always like to ask. Supplements, they can provide support, but what about those natural regenerative abilities we all have? How can you tap into those through the choices you make every day? Your diet, your exercise, how you manage stress. That's where the real power lies.
That's a great point. Food for thought for everyone listening. And if anyone out there is interested in learning more about Cerule's products after this discussion, you can head over to redlighttherapy.rehab/Cerule. That's redlighttherapy.rehab/CERULE. And as always, thanks for sharing your sources with us and for joining us on this deep dive. We love exploring these topics, so if you have any other questions or anything you'd like us to delve into in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out.